What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. What is up? Welcome to Hump Day with Hansen. I'm Hansen. You're you. We have our guy Thomas T on the other side of the glass producing this brand new program. And excuse me as I tweet out a little promotional tweet here so people know we are live right now. We had a little technical glitch there. Week one stuff happens, and we are here, though, ready to rock and roll. And by the way, first and foremost, let me just say right here at the top, this will be the worst Hump Day with Hansen program all year because, as I always complain about, and it is a little difficult, we are in that weird transitional period, especially today. I know the season kicks off tomorrow, but we are still it's early Wednesday morning. Basically, Labor Day weekend ended just a day ago. And here we are ready to go for week number one. Now, I'm not totally ready to go. I still have plenty of research that I need to do in terms of week one. It's like I said, it's a little difficult, but we'll come on here every Wednesday going forward with a little bit more support, if you will, in terms of, well, we have a week that has transpired. For example, next Wednesdays with Hansen or Hump Day with Hansen, we'll have waiver wire discussions, a little early for the trade market, but obviously a lot of stuff will happen in week one, and people will be wondering through Wednesday next week what to make of it. So that's the point of this broadcast here, because Hump Day, let's be honest, we call the show Hump Day with Hansen, but Hump Day it sucks. I mean, let's be honest. Wednesdays suck. It has no identity. I know Hump Day is a thing. All right, we got through a little bit with Hump Day. Oh, yeah, Hump Day. But it's kind of lost, its appeal, the luster. There's nothing going on Wednesday. The practices start on Wednesday morning. A lot of the waiver wires, I know Yahoo, they'll run Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So you wake up Wednesday morning, maybe your waivers haven't run yet. That's probably about half the field, maybe a little bit more. And you're like, oh, we're in no man's land here. I don't know. I'm not really looking, at the upcoming week hardcore just yet. Still licking my wounds maybe from a loss the week before. But we'll have plenty of things to talk about and fill in the gaps. And we have plenty of questions as well. And that's the other opportunity. I will be answering questions live here on our YouTube channel. And of course, like, subscribe, all that. Our guy Trey and Tom, they are loving life. Thomas, loving life about, our growth on YouTube. So thanks a lot to all the people who did go ahead and subscribe over there on the YouTube page. So let's look at some questions, and let's look at some. One thing that went on today, I'll give you my recap real quick of this. The FPI Invitational, the first ever Fantasy Points Invitational listener league at Fantasy Sports Radio. And I did the draft this morning. I was on the air all morning with Paul Kelly and Joe Dolan. I had the fourth pick. It is a 14-team skank league. So let's go through my team real quick, because I really did feel like I had the best draft I've ever had in terms of a listener league, because, well, I don't know if people are quite all up in my head as they've been in the past when I'm on Sirius XM for 2-3 hours every morning all summer long. That was not the case this year. So I get Bijan. I passed on Tyreek. Wasn't easy to do, but, I've been talking about getting that running back, that anchor guy, the young, the durable, the versatile, one of the flawless four, if you will. I go Bijan Robinson, comes back, and I am a big impact player guy. I mean, I really like to move the needle, and I like upside. So now with the Brandon Ayuk situation, I had a decision between Ayuk and Debo. Ayuk is younger and he's more durable than Debo. So I went Ayuk, come back. I get Devontae Smith, one of my favorite picks in general at wide receiver the last couple of years. Then I come back and kind of in BPA mode. Again, 14-teamer. So we're nearing the end of round number 4. So, we're 45, picks plus into the draft, and, things are starting to calm down in terms of the high end players available. So I go Trey McBride, who I'm very, very high on. Come back, I get Christian Kirk as my third wideout. Certainly, I mean, that's a pretty good example too of addressing wide receiver, but not going crazy. So I got Ayuk, Devontae Smith, and Christian Kirk. Might not be the best trio in the league, but I think it's pretty good. And a 14-teamer. I also, by the way, have Bijan Robinson and a stud tight end in Trey McBride. Come back, and I do think you want to hit the running backs for those still drafting. It does dry up at some point at running back. You know, when you look at it from the perspective of supply and demand, when you get through like the 8th round, 7th, 8th, 9th round, the best players on the board are going to not be running backs, basically. I'm looking here in this one. You know, we did have Brian Robinson go in the 8th round. That wasn't too bad. And Singletary, okay. So maybe a little beyond that. Gus Edwards, Chuba Hubbard. I took Trey Benson, actually. Rico Dowdle, you know. So I think you probably want to get at least 3 before this tier of running backs because it's not great. So I get Javonte Williams. I know he's burned some people. I loved him coming out big time, big time. I offer no apologies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that Nate Hackett exists. I could tell you that. But I do believe in Javonte's talent. Certainly looked great before his injury. And I know he looks a lot better this summer. He is their lead back. I did not get Audric Estime. But look, contract year, all that. Team is decent vibes right now. Not a wonderful pick, but 11th pick of round 6 in a 14-teamer. I come back, oddly enough, Tajay Spears went a pick before me, before I took Javonte in the 6th. So I'm like, all right, well, I will take Tony Pollard. Look, I love Spears, but I do have Pollard right there with him. Our guy, Adam Kaplan, did come on here and say, look, Tony Pollard's kind of the starter. I know they're going to use the word interchangeable a lot when they describe these two guys, but I thought that was a pretty good pick. Come back, and now I'm looking just for upside and, you know, an impact guy. Hollywood Brown, I take him. Look, he would have gone 2-3 rounds earlier if he was healthy, so I like that. And then I come back with Trey Benson, and now it's just super skank time. So I just did the best I could. By the way, I had not taken a quarterback yet. I get Pop Douglas. I mean, he's going to lead them in targets there for the New England Patriots. I finally do get my quarterback. I mean, I couldn't even forget about Jordan Love. He went before Joe Burrow in this draft. Jane Daniels gone. Caleb Williams, no chance. Caleb Williams went, let's see here. Wow, he went first pick of the 8th round. I get Brock Purdy with the 4th pick of the 11th round. I do have Ayuk. They do have the Trent Williams situation cleared up. That's nice. And hey, they're loaded. You know, this is it. Like, heads are going to roll in San Fran if they don't win the Super Bowl, or at least get there again, or at least get to the NFC title game. So I think they're going to throw more. Now, Ricky Pearsall may not play much this year, but they did draft Ricky Pearsall. Maybe they thought they would trade away Brandon Ayuk or do some sort of deal to thin themselves at wide receiver. They also do have Juwan Jennings. But it looks like Ricky's going to play at some point this year, or at least be available. So you kind of have to justify it a little bit. And let's be honest, you know, would they have won one of those last 2 Super Bowls had they been a little bit more throwy, if you will? I know the running game is hard to shy away from. Points come out of the passing game, though. And last I checked, I'm still told that you do need points to win. Then I go with Trevor Lawrence. I like him as a value. Between the two of them, I should have a pretty good quarterback. Get a little Marvin Mims in round 13. I'm very high on the Steelers defense. I grabbed them. I know they have a pretty good schedule early on. Evan McPherson. I go Elijah Moore and Greg Dulcich. But hey, these are picks 16 and 17 in a 14-team league. I thought it was a very good draft. I thought it was pretty balanced. 14-team PPR. I'll be rolling with a starting lineup. Let's call it Brock Purdy, Bijan Robinson, and Javonte Williams / Tony Pollard. I mean, that's close. Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Christian Kirk, Trey McBride, and then in the flex, okay, let's put Javonte in the RB2 spot and Pollard in the flex because Hollywood Brown is hurt and the other guys are not starters here. So that is a darn good starting lineup, I believe, Brock Purdy, Bijan Robinson, Javonte Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Christian Kirk, Trey McBride, Pollard in the flex with Evan McPherson and the Steelers defense. So there's that. Don't know if I'll do another draft or not, but we do have some questions here, and let's get into it here. Would you guys start Goff or go for the upside of Jaden Daniels this week? Well, I have not finished my personal rankings for the week. That's another challenge this week. I updated good vibes, bad vibes yesterday for those still drafting. Yet people also want to know about week one. It's fine. I'm used to it. Let's take a look at what our guy Chris Wecht has, the data intensive projections here. And well, oh wait, I just hit the season ones. My bad, dog. We'll pull up those weekly projectiles, and well, Jared Goff home against LA at 17, and he's got Daniels at 10. Against Tampa Bay, home game there. Yeah, I think I'd probably go with the cheat code on that one. Jared Goff is always a guy who could get pinched a little bit if they run in their scores. David Montgomery getting a lot of touchdowns on the ground. Again, I don't have a ton of insight on the actual matchups just yet because I'm still in that. But I would lean toward Daniels. I'm sure, by the way, I'm going to have Daniels higher in my rankings over here. A lot of data points here. It's a little confusing because for going into week one, there's just so much data coming at you and you're trying to figure out how things are going to go. But we're looking at data from last year in terms of coverage shells and things like that. Once we get actual data in on the season, then it's going to be a lot easier to handicap these matchups here early in the week, at least on a Wednesday. Let's see. We have a Grover voice. I love you, John. Thank you. Thank you very much. I see some people are happy about the timing of this. Here's a question. Paul, should we start DJ Moore, Ayuk, or Rice? That question is from Paul. Wow. Well, old school non-PPR is a tough one. I do like Reishi in this game. I'm going to pull out some data points in a moment that will make my point. In fact, I have worked on the matchups and all that, by the way. I do have a prop that I'm going to be putting in on Reishi Rice. Let's see where we do have more higher in the projections on the website, I believe. Let's see here. Week one. Oh, no. Whoa. See, I didn't even look at the very top of the board. See, I'm with Chris Wecht. Reishi Rice is our wide receiver 3 on the board. Now, here are some of the data points here that would lead us to this. Well, number one, Patty Mahomes threw a screen pass 12% of the time against single high compared to 18% of the time against two high. So the Ravens tried single high last year in that playoff game early, didn't go well. So we are anticipating a lot of two high, which means the check down rate for Mahomes should be high. And Reishi led the Chiefs with 24 screen targets and over 5.5 receptions is the prop. And I do like that. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about Reishi Rice in this matchup. Let me call up the prop real quick. I can't even play the damn props because I moved to a state where it's no longer legal. But actually, I did not pop that on the board yet. But that is not going to be the Thursday night special or anything like that. But Reishi Rice is a play this week. Obviously, the Hollywood Brown situation is, helping out Reishi Rice. No doubt about it. Look at all these wonderful comments here. CEO motivation, pop that on there. Thomas. I did figure out how to put that on the screen here. Anthony Richardson or Jordan Love, week 1, and it's a very important differentiation. Know your scoring, 6 points per passing touchdowns. Jordan Love against Philadelphia is our QB 11 for the week. We have Anthony Richardson over, but again, got to know your scoring. So our default is not 6 points per touchdown. Anthony Richardson, 19.2 points. Jordan Love, 18.1. But we have Anthony Richardson with basically 0.5 more touchdown passes, which is going to be right there. So it's probably a tie. And I'm going to go Love. I'm going to go Love there. It's a lot to ask the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil, no less, to cover this. It's a big challenge for Vic Fangio and the new defense and the defensive coordinator for Fangio. We did add a lot of people here. Obviously, the rookie Quinyon Mitchell. You got Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. DeJon Cooper, the other rookie. He's probably a backup, right? I mean, pretty good depth here, but I just don't know how much work Vic Fangio can do. They have not yet played a game. And the last time we saw them, it's not going to look like this, but their secondary was in complete disarray. They literally did not have a defense or an offense. So they were a mess. As I take a coffee cup sip here from my Vikings mug, I am going to go with Jordan Love there. Now, if it were not 6 points per passing, it'd be a toss up. It'd be a toss up. I'd probably go Love just because Anthony Richardson, the vibes haven't been amazing. He did throw a pick 6 in that last preseason game. So we move along here. Again, the first edition of Hump Day with Hansen, and it is clearly the most chaotic. I don't have the greatest understanding of the matchups like I normally would on a Wednesday, but by now next week, I'll have poured over everything that transpired, and we'll react to that. We'll have a little bit more of a foundation to make these calls. But hey, we're going in blind, baby. We have the next question here from TT Rozgriz. Is Bateman actually going to do something this year? I do believe that he will. It's not going to be explosive. It's not going to be high volume. It might be a little big play dependent, but our separation data on him was outstanding. Third best per our new tool that is forthcoming. Zay Flowers. Let's look at the coverage tool, by the way. I mean, we can do this kind of like real time, like real time analysis. Let's take a look at the coverage tool because it does favor in this game Rashad Bateman. First of all, again, we don't know will they travel their corners? I mean, they did with Snead. So is Trent McDuffie the new Snead? I think Trent McDuffie is an absolute stud. So he could be. And that would be the matchup for Zay Flowers. And even if it's not, even if they play sides based on our cornerback wide receiver coverage and matchup chart, it's Zay Flowers there on McDuffie. So that would stand to reason that Rashad Bateman really has a chance here. The other data points aren't wonderful on the tight ends for Baltimore. And, and by the way, not for nothing, I'm a little worried about Mark Andrews against cover 2, by the way, which the Chiefs rolled out a ton. Andrews was 0.51 fantasy points per route run, just 16th. Yeah, that's not fantastic. Although I'm not sure if I'm looking at that right, because I kind of think, Andrews against cover 2 would be okay. But I will say this, Lamar only averaged 0.31 fantasy points per drop back against cover 2. That was only 19th and about half of his normal rate. So it's a tough matchup here. But to answer the question, yeah, I do think so. I think the vibes have been pretty good. And Devontae Walker, I believe, is a project. Aguilar is there, and he's annoying. And I am worried about Likely. But I think Rashad Bateman will be okay. I mean, is he going to have a great year? Probably not. But for him, a great year would be, does he score? I mean, he could score 4 or 5 touchdowns, catch, 50 balls. Let me see what my projections for him actually are. I've been definitely over the market on him. I mean, look, he's a pedigree guy. He's a former number 1 pick. I wasn't a huge fan, but he's solid. Yeah, I got him at 46. There you go. I do have him with 5 tutties. That might be a bit much, but I do think he can be a good red zone guy. So yeah, I'm going to say he's definitely rosterable. Rashad Bateman here for the Baltimore Ravens. Sunset surfing sounds nice, by the way. Now, are we sunset surfing on the West Coast with the sunset in front of us, kind of, or well, actually behind us, or are we on the East Coast? But that's neither here nor there. Oh boy, Greg Dulcich or Mike Gesicki for this week. Well, I think we're in uncharted territory for both, obviously, because Dulcich, it's almost like he's on a new team, and Mike Gesicki is, in fact, on a new team. But I would have to lean toward Greg for Gesicki because even though they kept 100 tight ends, I mean, I think they kept 5. I feel the best about Gesicki's week 1 role. The vibes were actually pretty good. He is athletic. I don't think it's a scary matchup, by the way, against New England. So we'll go with Gesicki. Greg Dulcich, we have Gesicki for what it's worth at tight end 24. Greg Dulcich, tight end 33. Now, I did draft Greg Dulcich in the FPI draft here on SiriusXM this morning. That was with literally my last pick in a 14-teamer. So it was way over 200 picks into the draft. But, I mean, we really don't know like what the deal is. Is he healthy? Do they trust him? But what we do know, and I will tell you this too, I had a long convo last year with Adam Schefter about Sean Payton and his tight ends. And Schefter told me, oh man, Sean loves this Lucas Krull. I'm like, all right. And then sure enough, Lucas Krull was actually a factor down the stretch. Most people are like, who the hell's Lucas Krull? Including me. But they still have Troutman there. We still need to see something positive here from Greg Dulcich. Would like to see, obviously, the snaps look good, run a bunch of routes. So in the meantime, let's go with Mike Gesicki. Moving on here, kind of doing hodgepodge stuff because this is a very chaotic version of Hump Day with Hansen. Normally, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to have a little bit of insight on the week that was, a little bit of waiver wire talk, a little bit of trade market talk, buy low, sell high, and a little bit more. I mean, and I'll have a little bit more for the matchups because we'll have that 1 week in the books. So in the meantime, we'll take lineup questions. We'll just talk about the league and what's going on. Of course, if I take lineup questions, I might be here all day. I used to host chats on the old website, and I always I'm a pleaser. I try to please. And I would say, oh, well, let me just answer all the questions. Well, one time I was literally in there for 4 hours, 4.5 hours. I'm like, guys, it's been a 4.5 hour chat. I need to go. Anyway, Nerfman wants to know flex spot, Jameson Williams, Javonte Williams, Odunze, or Zamir White. Well, it's not Odunze. Could he score? Of course he could score, but he is also the 3rd receiver, maybe even the 4th option in the passing game, of course, behind Mr. Cole Kmet. But let me pull up our combined rankings, and that's nice at FantasyPoints.com when you're differentiating between, a bunch of positions here. We've got basically running back and wide receiver. Let's see who comes in higher in the projections, and I'll offer up some thoughts here myself. I'm scrolling. Looks like it's Javonte. Pretty decent matchup against Seattle. We've got 14 points, 15.5 carries, 65 yards, 3 grabs. as well. Yeah, I would probably go with Javonte there. Just want to make sure we don't have Zamir White any higher. No, it looks like it's Javonte. Then we have otherwise here. Wow, Zamir White's kind of down the board there. Yeah, I mean, look, Javonte's a starter. So is Zamir White, of course. Close in terms of the situation. I would give Javonte the edge in the pass catching category, even though Zamir White is actually not a zero in the passing game. Jameson Williams, hey, the vibes have been good, but and look, he's a big time threat every week. But are we really rolling with him over a starting running back? Is really the question here. I know a lot of people are excited about Jameson. I am too. They're in the dome, and by the way, the matchup's not scary, although the Rams traditionally have been a very, very zone heavy defense. I would imagine they'll continue to be, and that is not the greatest situation for Jameson Williams. They kind of look to keep everything in front of you here. So let's go with Javonte there. Let's talk to George here, or at least answer George's question. Anthony Richardson or Joe Burrow? I mean, I think, why do you have them both, by the way? That's not really efficient. I'd lean Burrow here. It's always tough when you have these cheat code guys because they may not even be that good at football and their matchup may not be that great, but yet they come in high, but boom. And I will bring up that I notice Chris Weck and I are almost always on the same page, which is kind of amazing to me because I'm not a big data person at all. I mean, I have a complete understanding of everything going on with the data and target shares and all that, but yeah, I'm not a data scientist like he is, but yet we're usually on the same page, and we are here as well. He's got Burrow, the QB5 for the week with 19.7. I've got Anthony Richardson. We do with 19.2. Now, if Jamar Chase is not suiting up, maybe then I consider Richardson because I just don't know how much Burrow is going to need to do to beat the Patriots. Is he throwing much in the fourth quarter? You don't want to suffer paralysis by overanalysis because guys can go off just throwing it 2 to 3 quarters, throw 3-4 touchdown passes. But, opportunity is a factor. And I would worry about Burrow in the fourth quarter of this game. Like, it's the Patriots. They are just, maybe they'll come out and play good football under Gerard Mayo and surprise a little bit, but they're very, very underwhelming. So let's go with Burrow right there. We could talk to Jake. Oh, here we go. Trade. I like trade. Let's do some trade stuff. Would you trade Brandon Ayuk for CJ Stroud in a 1 quarterback 6 point per touchdown pass league? Trevor Lawrence is my current starter with Calvin Ridley and JSN being wide receiver replacements. So you're getting Stroud for Ayuk. I mean, it could absolutely work out, but I'm going to go no. I actually think that Trevor Lawrence could be just as productive as CJ Stroud. Trevor Lawrence runs. Like, we're not, I'm counting now. I'm to the point where I count on rushing from Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think that's fair. He's done it, what, 3 years in a row? 4? Is it? I mean, I can't remember. I think it's 3, at least 3. So let's go with, let's stay with Trevor. I did like him last year and he didn't come through, but it wasn't all his fault. He was hurt. He had a lot of drops. Injuries weren't, and Christian Kirk was hurt, Joe Gibson wants to know Skinny Batman or Neighbors in the flies, which I assume is flex. I'm going Skinny Batman. Let's see where Eagles fan Chris Weck, not that he has any biases, but yeah, I think Neighbors is going to be fascinating. And normally I'm in on this, a dude like this. And I was around him a little bit at the combine. He's charismatic. There's no doubt. He's a baller. I mean, he's an absolute stud, but it's also New York. That could be a problem. The bright lights, all that. There are some lingering character stuff. I don't know if it's concerns, but it's just lingering things there. Obviously the quarterback. I think it's a little too proactive. And normally, like I said, I'm normally in on guys like this. Well, he's got Neighbors at wide receiver 22, which, that's pretty high. But where the hell's Skinny Batman at? Man, I am out of practice. There's AJ Brown in terms of finding. Here we go. He has Neighbors over Skinny Batman. I don't love that one. Let's take a look at the wide receiver cornerback coverage. I know it's a great matchup for AJ Brown. That I do know. Eric Stokes, Skinny B. Yeah, it's the Jair Alexander factor. Now, is Jair Alexander good? I think he started to come on late last year. I'm still going to go with Devontae Smith. We're not expecting much from Jahan Dotson, especially week one. He just joined the team a few weeks ago. So it's kind of still a two-headed monster at receiver. So that's not the case with the Giants. I know Malik Neighbors is going to get plenty of targets, design targets and all that. But, they have a couple of other guys who work in there, like Wandale. I actually kind of like Wandale. And what do they do with Jalen Hyatt? I mean, I guess that's kind of my point. Like, they have to play Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he is a lid lifter. I didn't like him last year, but he did some things. Wandale's a good player. He's a gadgety guy, but they are going to get some touches here along with the tight ends. Yeah, Neighbors is going to get his. I just don't know if he's going to get a ton of looks, and there's some downside. Spencer Gary, are we going to be able to use the league importer? Yes, soon. We promise. It is. I cannot tell people how much of a pain in the ass this importer is. It's brutal. It's one of those things where, like, you have 10,000 pieces of information, and if one of them is wrong, you're done, basically. So it's a challenge. But we thank you for your patience. We are we are all in on getting this stuff right. So my promise to you, stick and stay with us. We will get it right, basically. And then when it's right, it'll stay right. Nate wants to know, as we move along here, the first edition of Hump Day with Hansen. That's a little chaotic, answering questions. Holy crap, we got a lot of questions. Nate, I know you're not a defense man. What's your plan this season? I actually like the Steelers, but that's true. I am kind of quitting basically on my defensive analysis and kickers. I know it sounds terrible, but that said, I do like the Steelers. I think their schedule is pretty good. I know people are into the schedule. Atlanta at Denver, LA Chargers at the Colts. That's pretty good. You're playing a potentially hobbled Kirk Cousins, a rookie in Bo Nix, and basically a rookie, a rusty, well, I guess by week 3 he won't be that rusty, but Justin Herbert in a pretty nondescript offense, and then Anthony Richardson for the Colts. So I like the Steelers. And then again, look at the personnel. I think they might still have an issue or two at corner, but real quick, like, if everything goes well and they enjoy health, just re-sign Cam Hayward, you obviously have a pass rush with Watt. You have coverage players. You have Patrick Queen. We'll see how Deontay Jackson does, but Joey Porter was a shutdown guy. Minka, they have playmakers. I like the Steeler D. That's kind of like my target this year for what it's worth there. Nate, dad of Danielle. Hello, dad of Danielle. I think I knew someone with that name, by the way, but I don't think it's the same person. But PPR, start 3. Marvin Harrison, Drake London, DK Metcalf, Breece Hall. Wow. I mean, I'm defaulting to the running backs there. But, I mean, do you really what is this, a 6-team league? Well, you're going with Breece Hall. And I don't know. I guess you got to go with Gibbs. Maybe give Marvin Harrison Jr. a week. And wow. Maybe we go DK there. Let's see who we have higher in the rankings here. Well, we could also look at DK's matchup. Oh, no. Oh, never mind. He's going to see a lot of Pat Surtain. I don't know if Pat Surtain will travel, but he'll see a decent amount of Pat Surtain. So no, we're not going to do DK. Do we go London or Harrison? That is pretty interesting. Marvin Harrison has a beatable matchup against Rasul Douglas often. That looks pretty good. I know Christian Benford's pretty good. Teron Johnson is pretty good too. So Harrison technically could get the best matchup there. But also London. Yeah, we're not going London. Again, this is tough because Joey Porter's a good corner, but they'll play a lot of man, and London does well against man. End of the day, I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison there. So let's go with the running backs and Marvin Harrison. I mean, we're going in blind a little bit, but I know there's a higher total in that game. Well, what are we up to, like 48? And yeah, I mean, Marvin Harrison should be as advanced as a rookie can be, who didn't play in the preseason, basically, for a variety of reasons. Cody asked something about our pricing. I can't comment on everything, but I can tell you that, we always try to be competitive. So, I mean, some of the things we're doing in that regard are reacting to the marketplace. Like if everyone else is doing it and our competitors are getting an advantage that way, then we need to follow suit in some ways. So I think we've done that in some ways. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But that's also why we're intensely motivated to produce and perform and do a good service, have a good service. To wit, Hump Day with Hansen, things like that. Let's go to Bourbon 5. Been drafting Kamani Vidal late in drafts based on LT's evaluations. Okay. LaDainian Tomlinson, what are his chances late in the season to get meaningful snaps? Well, he made the team. I think he has certainly a good chance. If they also cut Spiller, right? Let's make sure they didn't re-sign him to the practice squad, though. No, but they did re-sign Jarrett Patterson to the practice squad, which I've interviewed that kid. I'm shocked he's still around. But yeah, Hassan Haskins, also have interviewed him actually, but he's had some rough off the field stuff. I think he's pretty good, but man, when you really look at it, if I had to make a long-term play, I might do Vidal. When I look at ADP, I'd probably view Vidal as the best play, the best option because he's the cheapest. Well, I guess Haskins, but yeah, he needs some help though. He absolutely needs some help, but it wouldn't shock me at all if, second half of the season, we start seeing him being worked into the mix, especially if obviously Dobbins gets hurt. Joseph, I'm going to go rapid fire here because we're already 37 minutes in. I do need to get into some of my own work here on the site. Like my rankings page. Joseph, would you trade Rashee Rice and Najee Harris for JT? I will say that Rashee Rice and Najee Harris are going to produce more than JT. Like they are. I would say I'm leaning no, but if you're loaded at wide receiver and you can afford, to lose a real good option in Rashee, you're basically, let's say you're loaded and Rashee's your 4 and, let's say Najee's your 4 or your 3rd and you have a very good 4. That might be a situation where you give up a little bit more than you're getting, but you are also upgrading a starting spot basically in JT. CEO says, thank you. It's a good morning. Okay. We're running out of the morning time here, at least on the East Coast. Anthony asks, which one of these skank running backs would you want to hold on to long-term for the season? Ty Chandler, Zach Charbonnet, Tyler Algier, or Ray Davis? Boy, if you've been following me, I liked Ty Chandler 2 years ago. And he's done better than almost anyone expected. I actually interviewed him. I set it up because I liked him. And I'm actually a little underwhelmed, even though he looks pretty good. I don't think he just looks more than anything but a changeup. Charbonnet was a little jag-like last year as well. Maybe he was banged up. I'm going to go Ray Davis just because I think he'll have a role. My guy Sal Majorana kind of confirmed that to me, by the way. Who covers the Bills. And I think I'll have a role now. And if James Cook does go down, I love Ray Davis. That's another guy I sat down with. Absolutely one of the greatest guys ever. So you love the story. He was an orphan. I mean, the dude grew up on the West Coast and he lived in like a boarding house in like Buffalo or something like Northeast Pennsylvania, maybe. Incredible young man. Incredible young man. Very impressed with that guy. Fred wants to ask, punt it on tight end. Let's go, Conklin. Yeah, you and the Miz. I did a draft last night for the Allison Chains and Friends Fantasy Football League, and the Miz is all in on Team Gorific. And boy, he punted on tight end and he went with Conklin. I was like, dude, you didn't take your tight end until the 14th round. So here's the deal with Conklin. A guy needs touchdown love, period. That's it. Like, he's going to catch over 50. He's going to catch 60. And he's going to get 595 yards, 615 yards, whatever. He's got to get the touchdowns. I'm thinking he'll get 4 to 5 because they're going to score. Aaron Rodgers obviously throws for a lot of scores in his career. He's had years where he hands the ball off. Aaron Jones scored 1 million touchdowns that one year. But look, I think he trusts Tyler Conklin compared to the other receivers on the roster in the lineup. He's going to view Conklin as his second or third most trustworthy receiver. So I see no reason why he can't start giving him some love. John, are we still going to be getting bowl predictions on Friday? Yeah, I'm trying to do everything that I'm normally doing. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to have people feeling crappy. We want to keep it all going here. Bowl predictions, skank squats, doing all that. Jun, or I hope I pronounced that right. Pickens or Shakir in a PPR. Haven't gone through every single thing yet. Definitely very high on Shakir this year. It looks like he's got a solid enough matchup. It's crazy to see Max Melton on the grid. That's awesome. Considering I told his dad, by the way, when Max Melton was 13, I told his dad that he was a stud. No, don't anyone tell Bo Melton this, but when I watched Max and Bo Melton play one high school game, I saw the dad, Gary, after the game, who I grew up with. I said, well, Gary, great job. Great stuff. 2 things. Number one, they're both better than you were, which they were, barely. And number 2, Max is the guy. Here he is in the starting lineup. Set to see a lot of Keon Coleman. By the way, don't start Keon Coleman this week. Why? Well, Max Melton kind of handled Marvin Harrison in college. I mean, he may have done as good of a job on Marvin Harrison as any other cornerback in the country. So that could be a tough matchup there for Keon Coleman. Went into a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but didn't even answer the question because we didn't get to Pickens. Let's go to Pickens real quick. Pickens is going to see, well, and again, we're not traveling, I doubt, but in theory, you could see a lot of AJ Terrell. But I'm still going Pickens. I'm going to go Pickens because I love Shakir. I really do this year. But, Josh Allen could come out and, spray the ball around a little bit. Let's get Curtis Samuel involved. Let's throw to Kincaid and Knox. Let's get the backs involved and the rookie. Oh, let's take a shot to MVS. Whereas in Pittsburgh, it's like, guys, we got nowhere else to go with the ball when we throw it. Basically, it's Pat Freiermuth or Georgie Pickens. Bourbon says the Cowboys are like the Vikings now. I got all the gear, but I know they're not winning nothing. Absolutely. I'm not wearing Vikings underwear. Thank you for the question, though. Lugo, how would you play your lineup without Chase if it was to happen? I got Debo, Jameson, and Pickens. Well, I would rank them Debo, Pickens, Jameson. That's not bad. I think you can get by with that if Chase doesn't play week 1 or is limited. J-Dub goes, would you start Love over Lamar Jackson? 6 points passing. Yes, I would. Lamar and the Ravens were not that great last year in this matchup specifically. So Yes, I would. See what other data points we have on Lamar. Man, I'm sweating under these lights. Lamar averaged just 0.31 fantasy points per dropback against cover 2. It's about half of his normal rate, and he'll probably see a decent amount of cover 2. No L'Jarius Sneed, so that is worth noting. But the cover 2 may mean that they run the rock a lot too, like feed the ball to Derrick Henry. So yeah, I would go with Love over Lamar in that environment. Raymond, he says he hopes I'm right. I hope I'm right. I always hope I'm right. Dior Vlogs, Waddle, Moore, or Rice? Rice. Very definitive there. No waffling. Yeah. Sunset says wherever there are waves. Nate wants to know, where can we find your prop bets? They are not up on the site yet. They will be. Just look for them. I'm very excited. I went back and I looked at all the numbers from weeks 12 through 18. 7 weeks, a decent sample. My top 5 props for the week were 70%. That's pretty damn good. And all props, and there were like 180 of them, were 64%. I'm not guaranteeing that again, and it could be a little bit of a slow start as we get data points in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, but very excited. I'm going to be pissed if I'm under 60%. Let's put it that way. Bourbon 5 says or asks, how does Jameson Williams have a breakout year with so many mouths to feed in that offense? Well, he is, doesn't need volume necessarily because he's a big play guy. And you say so many. I mean, Tim Patrick is currently on the practice squad. Now, maybe they call him up, but I doubt it for week 1. So is Allen Robinson and Donovan Peoples-Jones. They bring up anyone, it's probably DPJ because he's been there since last year. But, otherwise they're very thin. I mean, they're really thin. Khalif Raymond, Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra. And that's it. That is it. And they don't even have a good tight end too. So I think Jameson is locked in as the third option in the passing game, and 5 to 6 targets pretty much every week. So, and also I think it's a good environment because good O-line, good protection, a lot of indoor games, run heavy offense, which causes safeties to drop into the box, opens up play action. And I do believe Goff is a pretty good shot play guy and can get the ball downfield to Jameson. He did that already a couple of times. Let's go to Sergio. He wants my thoughts. 12-team PPR. Quarterback is Lamar, Olave, McLaurin, Bijan, Etienne, Worthy, Elliott, Bears. Yeah, I mean, it's a good job. I don't like Polk much, but that's a solid job. I'm getting a late vibe on Olave. He's been on my list all along. I was a little worried about the offense and all that, but I think it's kind of like George Pickens. Like, yeah, we have some concerns there, but man, he is going to dominate the targets. Jimmy loves to hear the analysis of the Titan running backs. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know if there's a question there. And also week 1. They've used that word interchangeable. I have felt that maybe Pollard would be the better passing down back. I mean, he is a former slot receiver, with Javonte maybe the better short yardage guy, but it's tough. They are probably pretty darn interchangeable. Like the coach said, I use that word on the draft night, and that's kind of been the operative word. Interestingly, though, we do have Tajay ranked ahead of Pollard. Again, this is tough because they're so close. 12.3 points for Tajay and 11.4 for Pollard. Tajay with 2.5 grabs and Pollard with 2.1. So, I mean, this is really close. We have them with the same number of carries, splitting it right down the middle. So, well, I mean, this is why, if you're still drafting, you would go with Tajay as the better pick because he's cheaper. So we'll see how it plays out, but do love me some Tajay Spears. And I'm actually okay with Pollard right now. Pumpkin Fishing asks, Nico or Rice? I'm going Rice. Should be a Rice game. Concerned with Diggs? Yeah. I mean, I am. Our separation data is not great on Diggs down the stretch. I just don't know. I think look, he's been a stud, but some of that is, due to the volume that he's gotten. So we're not getting that in Houston. Jack asks, I got Fat Keenan in the 9th of a 10th. Man, half-point PPR. Can start him over ASAB, Chase, and Cup. What do I do with this guy when he has a spike game week 1? We're talking Keenan Allen. I don't know what did I miss that he was fat? I've actually seen Hard Knocks and I didn't even pick up on that. Is he fat? Didn't look fat to me. Well, maybe we'll see what happens with Chase. This is a brutal situation. I would probably not start Keenan Allen, though, if Chase goes. If you feel good about Chase by Sunday, I'm probably going to go with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Chase, and Cup. I mean, just kind of order of which you drafted. Conklin or JMO this week? That's a tough one. Let's see what Chris Wecht has for Conklin, because I was definitely higher on Conklin, I think, than anybody else. And see here. Oh, he's got him at 12 with 9.4 points. Do we go with that? We're probably going to go more points for Jameson. Yeah, let's go Jameson there. Much as I like Conklin, the guy was a guy whose ADP was like 190. Whereas Jameson here, let's take a look at the projections here. So we're under 10 points for Conklin projected. And then Jameson, where the hell is he? Scrolling. Man, where the hell is he? I'm going to have to alphabetize it now. Let's see. Yeah. Wow. Actually, 8.4. Look at that. He's only got 8.4. I'm going Jameson there. I'm going to go Jameson. Yeah, Conklin could score, but he hasn't been a big touchdown guy. Whereas, what's the likelier thing to happen? Jameson makes a big play or Conklin scores. I'd have to go Jameson making a big play. Master Y says, do I like this parlay? I just submitted AD Mitchell touchdown. I know he scored last preseason game. DJ Moore touchdown. Kyler Murray 234. Was that over 234 passing? Rico, I mean, dude, Master Y, there's like 17 guys here. Just a $5 bet. I hope you win $2 million. Here's where I think you're going to lose it, though. Jacobs over 2.5, 5 receptions. I don't know about that one. They did let A.J. Dillon go. He is the only game in town. I think if you win that one, it'll be close. He'll probably catch 3. If you win that, my prediction is you catch 3. Jake asks, Shakir, Shaheed, or Moody? I think we go Shakir. I think he is the only wideout for the Bills who's caught a pass in the regular season from Josh Allen. Mooney's on a new team with Kirky out the whole season. Shaheed, I do like in general, but loved him last year, and he wasn't that great. Nate loves to hear my Pittsburgh love. Okay, good to hear it. Dan asks, we'll go to Dan. Standard scoring, would you trade Mostert and Goff for Dak or Caleb Williams? My other quarterback is Lawrence, and Mostert is my 4th running back. I'm going to go with no. I think Lawrence can be somewhat close to Dak. So now you're giving up a guy in Mostert who scored 21 touchdowns last year, and Goff, who threw over 30 touchdowns, for one guy. It doesn't seem great to me. Joe Schmo, Taysom Hill is an interesting flex for this week. I did retire from analyzing Taysom Hill. I do apologize. I can't do it. I don't know I have no idea what this guy's going to do. It drives me nuts. I do like Jawan Johnson as a potential sleeper, but also I liked him last year and he didn't do much. Giants or Chargers this week. Giants against the Vikings. Chargers against the Raiders. We're talking defense. Wow. This is not that easy. Man. I guess I'll go Giants with Sam Darnold being a little bit of a turnover machine. Giants do have some guys in the front. Of course, the Raiders do have Gardner Minshew. I'm going to go Giants there. Who gets the most volume this year, Pickens, Moore, or Collins? Good question. Yeah, it's a really good question. Let's see who I have catching. Honestly, it's not Pickens. It's either Moore or Collins is where it's at. Let's see how my rankings and stuff line it up here. I'm not that high on Collins this year. I'm going to go Moore. I've got Moore with 5 more catches than Nico Collins. So, yeah, good question. Dan Casey, standard scoring, Rice or Najee? Looks like Jalen Warren is going to play. I'm still going Rice there. Average John says draft last night. Love, Henry, Bijan, London, Debo, McBride, Godwin, DJ Moore. That is very gorific, sir. Very, very gorific. Nick B is throwing some props here, some love. Nice. Did a live draft with you and Tomlinson back in the day. Wow, there you go. I love LT, man. What a great guy. Like literally the greatest guy of all time. Who do you favor? Says somebody here. I'm not gonna. Titlewood. Let's just go Titlewood. I almost went another enunciation. Who do you favor in a 0.5 PPR league, running backs or wide receivers? You don't want to make any blanket statement like this, but generally, running backs. I like the running backs a little bit more this year. And then when you're not getting that full point, it does hurt the upside and the power of the wide receivers gets reduced just a little bit. Mark has a comment here. Justin Jefferson in the top 5 wide receivers still. Not for me. I don't know. Is he on our board for week 1 again, this is so early in the week. But shout out to Chris to having those week 1 projections ready because they are ready to rock and roll. Let's see where we have Jefferson. Well, we only have him at 8 here for the week. So I don't know what we're talking about, but yeah, I don't feel warm and fuzzy about it. You know, my thing is usually when you have a guy at the top of the board, top 12, who has issues, you're normally taking him over someone who's also really good and really appealing. So I do worry when we have a top 10 guy with an issue like Justin Jefferson with the big-headed one, Sammy Darnold. Let's go. Dixon wants to ask about a former contributor. Well, I hear you, but our guy Brett Whitefield is just brings a lot of more football plus data. Brett's the man. I love Brett. He's been phenomenal, and I trust him pretty strongly here. So that's what we're looking at here. There's the bat phone. Look, it's Rich Gannon. Name drop. I'm going to hang up on that. Sorry, Rich. Hey, Guru, is likely to have an impact. Yes. I think he will. I really do. I think they need to go 12 personnel to get him on the field. I think he commands the ball. They got to get him more involved. Daniel, Love, or Tua with Tyreek as my wide receiver 1. We're talking this week. I assume we're talking this week. So you've got Tyreek. Let's see. I didn't see what our projection was for Tua. Let's take a look at that. I know we've got Love at like QB 10. We're a little down here. You know, it's not a scary matchup against Jacksonville. I'd go Love. Still trust Love a little bit more. He will run more. I mean, what did he get 4 in last year on the ground? And he had 50 attempts to almost nothing in the running game. Dixon wants to know Odunze, Shakir, or Zamir White. I like Shakir. Let's go Zamir White. He's getting 18 to 20 touches. That is no question. Nick B, my thoughts. Oh, we already did that. Or is it? Maybe we did. Bijan, Debo, Olave, Monte, Ingram, Love, Watson, Spears, Cook. That's terrific. We've already established that. Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer, or Brian Thomas in the flex. week 1. Got to go Kirk there. I think Palmer's going to do well, but Herbert has missed the whole preseason, might be a little rusty there. Brian Thomas probably not ready for prime time. Certainly Christian Kirk. Dixon says and asks, if you had to take a guess, who would be your choice for the first quarterback this season to cross the 400-yard mark in a game? I got to go with Mahomes, because I had him with the most yards projected due to all the speed that they added here in the offseason, and he's usually there anyway. They did things like draft Xavier Worthy and get Hollywood Brown. Coach Breezy, would I start Derrick Henry against his Chiefs defense? Yes, I would. They were middling against the run. In fact, you could argue if you're going to beat them, maybe do it that way. And we do have some data points that point to, the coverage shell maybe helping out at Derrick Henry a little bit. Also, if they choose to go man, that'll probably help Derrick Henry as well. Chase wants to know, would I start Neighbors out of the gate to see what Daniel Jones we get? I would like to, see what Daniel Jones we get. I know you drafted Neighbors pretty high, but I think it's possible you can sit him. Otherwise, just roll with him because you took him as a starter. Dan asks, standard scoring, need one out of Rice, Mostert, Harris, or Stevenson. Damn. I think we're just going to go in on Rice this year or this week. It's a tough one. Mostert had 21 touchdowns. Harris is certainly well in the mix at the goal, and so is Ramondre. But, especially for Harris and Ramondre, we don't know about the offense. I don't feel warm and fuzzy about it. So let's go Rice. It's a little ballsy. Mo Jonda, Keon Coleman, or D-Hop. We have not seen DeAndre Hopkins, but if he practices, I'm going with him over Keon Coleman, who will likely see a lot of Max Melton. And that is an interesting matchup because, like I said 10 minutes ago, our guy Max Melton absolutely handled Marvin Harrison in college. Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, 10-team PPR. Again, I assume we're talking week 1. That's a tough one. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking at here. The rankings here on the site, which I'm going to be doing myself. Let's see where we have them. Where is Caleb? He's way down the board here. Yeah, QB 16. Oof, boy. Let's see. Where's Lawrence? I'm sorry. Technical. There he is, way up there. Yeah, I'll go Lawrence. I'll sign off on that. I like Lawrence this year, definitely. If Chase is out, Joe Smith asks, Ladd, Mooney, or Cooks? Ladd missed a little bit of time. Mooney is probably not going to get a ton of volume. I go Cooks. I like Cooks. I like Cooks this year. I didn't get why he didn't get a little bit more love. Let's see here. Jordan Love at quarterback. Flex question, Dobbs, Ramondre, Rico Dowdle, or Lockett? I think I'd probably go Ramondre there. He is the bell cow guy. No doubt about it. Greg says, we miss you on Sirius. It was on all day. But that's one of the reasons we're doing this, to replace Sirius. And like I said, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thomas on the other side of the glass hooking us up. We did do an hour plus here. I'll end it here. This was the worst edition of Hump Day with Hansen that you'll see all year because we're going in a little blind. I'm still way behind dealing with the preseason and the regular season. Hopefully we help some people out. I'm going to get to work the rest of the day, all day tomorrow. We'll have the props up. All the good stuff will be ready to go. It's a great time to be alive. Great time of the year. I will wrap it here. I'll be back tomorrow here on our YouTube channel doing a matchup points with Graham Barfield and Brett Whitefield. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hook us up. The algorithm is starting to notice us on YouTube. So thank you very much for that. I am going to wrap it up here. Hump Day with Hansen, week 1 is in the books. We'll catch you next week, and we'll see you tomorrow here on the YouTube channel and at FantasyPoints.com.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.